Beneath the blazing African sun, where the horizon shimmered in waves of heat and the dry grass whispered in brittle tones, a lone lion stood motionless near a dusty roadside. The vast savanna seemed suspended in silence, as if even the wind had retreated from the scorching afternoon. The great animal was not a picture of power or dominance. It was limping, its golden frame sagging under obvious pain, one front paw grotesquely swollen and held awkwardly above the ground. Instead of retreating into the tall grass at the sound of an approaching vehicle, the lion remained where it was, staring directly at the old SUV rumbling down the road. There was something unusual in its gaze, not aggression, not fear, but something that felt almost like expectation. Inside the vehicle, a wildlife rescuer named Daniel Mercer squinted through the windshield, wiping sweat from his brow as he made his way toward a small town miles away. He had traveled these roads countless times and knew the behavior of wild animals well. When he caught sight of the lion standing so openly in the heat, he instinctively slowed. As he drew closer, the animal's uneven stance became impossible to ignore. Daniel pressed the brakes, the tires crunching against gravel, and stared in disbelief. A healthy lion would have vanished at the first hint of danger. This one did not move. Stepping carefully from his SUV, Daniel kept his movements slow and deliberate. The lion's breathing was heavy, its sides rising and falling in strained rhythm. Its injured paw was badly inflamed, the skin stretched tight and discolored in deep shades of purple and blue. Dried blood marked the fur, but there was no visible gash. Instead, the swelling suggested a severe infection trapped beneath the surface. Even from several feet away, Daniel could detect the faint, sour scent of decay. The animal's strength was clearly fading. As he took another cautious step, the lion swayed and gradually lowered itself into the brittle grass, as though the effort of standing had become too much. In that vulnerable posture, it looked less like a predator and more like a creature silently pleading for relief. Daniel reached for his radio and called the nearest veterinary unit, his voice calm but urgent. Help was on the way, yet he knew the infection looked advanced. Time was critical. He remained nearby, speaking in low, steady tones meant to soothe rather than alarm. The lion's amber eyes never left him. There was no growl, no flash of teeth, only exhaustion and something that resembled trust. When the veterinary team finally arrived under the relentless midday sun, they moved with careful precision. One of the vets prepared a tranquilizer while Daniel stayed close, maintaining a steady presence. The anesthetic took effect within minutes. The lion's massive muscles relaxed, and its labored breathing softened. Once it was safely sedated, the team examined the injured limb more closely. The swelling had reached a dangerous point. With a careful incision, the veterinarian released the built-up pressure. Thick, foul-smelling pus poured from the wound, confirming the severity of the infection. Though the sight was unpleasant, it also meant the healing process could finally begin. The wound was flushed thoroughly with antiseptic solution, and a drainage tube was inserted to prevent further buildup. Antibiotics were administered, and the leg was wrapped securely. Throughout the procedure, Daniel remained close, gently resting a hand against the lion's mane, speaking softly as though the animal could still hear him. Over the next several days, Daniel set up a small tent not far from where the lion had been treated. The heat was unforgiving, and insects swarmed in the evenings, but he refused to leave the animal's side. The veterinary team returned daily to clean the wound and change the bandages. Remarkably, the lion never attempted to flee. When someone approached, it would remain still, occasionally lifting its injured leg slightly as if understanding the purpose behind the discomfort. The swelling began to recede, and the angry redness gradually faded. Daniel brought fresh water and portions of meat, placing them at a respectful distance. Each day, the lion's breathing grew steadier, its eyes clearer. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in warm shades of amber and crimson, the lion pushed itself upright without assistance. Its legs trembled, and its balance wavered, but it stood on all fours for the first time since Daniel had found it. The moment felt monumental. Daniel watched quietly, resisting the urge to move closer. The lion took a tentative step, Then another. A deep rumble escaped its chest. Not a roar, but a soft vibration that seemed almost like acknowledgement. Daniel felt a swell of emotion rise within him. Recovery would not be immediate, but progress was undeniable. Weeks turned into months. With each visit, Daniel noticed subtle improvements. The limp grew less pronounced. The infection cleared completely, leaving only a faint scar as evidence of the ordeal. More striking than the physical healing was the change in the lion's demeanor. When Daniel's SUV appeared along the dusty path, the lion no longer retreated into hiding. Instead, it remained visible, calm and observant. A quiet understanding had formed between them. Daniel always approached carefully, mindful that wild instincts should never be forgotten. Yet the lion showed no sign of hostility. During bandage changes, it would remain steady, allowing him close enough to finish his work. 3 months after that blistering afternoon when their paths first crossed, Daniel returned to the clearing at sunset, binoculars in hand. He did not come to treat or feed the lion this time. He came simply to witness. Moving gracefully through the tall golden grass, the lion emerged into view. Its stride was strong and fluid, the painful limp completely gone. The once swollen paw now bore only a thin scar, a quiet reminder of suffering endured and overcome. The lion paused, lifting its head as though sensing his presence. Their eyes met across the distance. There were no dramatic gestures, no grand displays. Just a still moment shared between two beings who had altered each other's lives. Daniel gave a slight nod, an unspoken farewell. The lion held his gaze briefly before turning and walking steadily into the vast expanse of the savannah, disappearing into the glowing haze of the setting sun. It did not look back again. Daniel remained seated on the hood of his dusty SUV long after the silhouette vanished. The air had cooled, and the sky deepened into twilight. He felt grateful, not for recognition, not for reward, but for the simple privilege of having made a difference in a world that often feels indifferent. Sometimes the greatest victories are quiet ones, witnessed by no audience but the open sky. If this story touched your heart and reminded you of the powerful bond that can exist between humans and the wild, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. By supporting stories like this, you help spread awareness about compassion, conservation, and the small acts that can change a life, whether human or animal.